Hey, this is Nick with Gadgetry, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Acer Aspire V5-122P-0600. This is the model with the AMD A6 quad-core processor running at 1 GHz. It has 4 GB of DDR3 memory, a 3-cell battery, and a 500 GB standard hard drive. It's running at 5400 RPM. It has a 11.6-inch 720p IPS touchscreen. So there you go, running Windows 8 of course. I'll close the lid and take a look at the ports. So it is made out of plastic, but it is pretty sturdy. It doesn't flex much or anything like that, and the hinge is really tight, which is nice when you're using it as or using the touchscreen. So there we have the lid. On the right side, we have the power button, headphone jack, a standard USB 2.0 port, and the power jack. There aren't any ports located on the back of the machine. On the left side, we have the lock port there, the fan vent, a USB 3.0 port, a display port, and an SD card slot. On the front, there aren't any ports or anything like that. Take a quick look at the bottom. Fan vent, speakers, and if you take out all of the screws, the entire bottom panel will come off, and you have access to the innards. There's one memory card slot, and then the rest of the memory is soldered onto the board. And you can also access the hard drive to upgrade the drive to a solid state drive. I believe it uses a 7mm drive. So if you're looking to upgrade to an SSD or a larger hard drive, just go for the smaller 7mm drive. There's also a port under here, and these screws here, which some people have been speculating might mean that there's an extended battery going to be available soon for it, but right now there isn't one. So they sell these laptops at Walmart and on Amazon. I'm not sure if the Walmart model includes the IPS display, but the model -060 includes the IPS touchscreen. We'll turn it back on. Now right now it's $399.99 on Amazon, and that includes the free shipping, Prime shipping if you have that option. So from a design standpoint, I like it. It's very slim. It's fairly slim, not very slim. It's not one of those really slim laptops like the MacBook Air, of course, but it's fairly slim for its price point and for its size. Slide up here. Let me type in the password. There we go. Alright, so from a design standpoint, I really like how it's designed. Slim and portable. It's not very heavy at all. Now moving on to the display here, since it's an IPS display, the viewing angles are great. It is glossy, but the viewing angles are still great on it. And my light up there is creating a lot of glare on the screen, but it does have pretty wide viewing angles when it isn't in direct sunlight like that, or direct light at all. So IPS, great viewing angles. The screen looks good. Now if you're used to a 13-inch laptop with a 1080p screen like I am, it doesn't look quite as good. But if you're used to the regular Walmart or Best Buy laptop with a 15.6-inch 720 screen, this will look way better because it's smaller and it has a higher pixel density. As far as audio goes, we can test that now with the YouTube video. We'll take a look at this video of the new Optimus G2. And while we're listening to the audio, we can also talk about performance. It does play videos perfectly smooth. It plays videos perfectly smoothly in 720p at least. I haven't tried 1080p, but it is a 720p screen, so there really isn't any need to go to 1080p. We'll go full screen. And when you plug it in, it'll perform a lot faster, but when it's on battery, it kind of underclocks itself to save power. But anyway, 720p video will play perfectly well. I'll put it to 720p now just to show you guys.
Itself is actually about the same size, but one thing that's really interesting is that the buttons, both the power and the volume buttons, are on the back. You can also long press.
Okay, so at max volume, it can fill a small room. Not super loud, but decent for a smaller laptop. And this is 720p running perfectly smooth. Let's close this tab and we'll go to a speed test. I usually get on my main laptop, I get about 30 down, 5 up on this network. So we'll let that run. And while it's running, we can talk about keyboard. About the keyboard, it's backlit. If it's on, now I'm not sure if it's, yes it is on, it's kind of bright in here, but the backlit keyboard is on. There you go, you can see it now. It's on and it works well, good key travel. And I like the backlighting for when I'm using it at night, so I don't have to leave a light on or something like that. We'll tilt it down a little so it gets rid of the glare. Alright, so already it's beating what I usually get on my laptop. Now it is almost midnight here, so the network does speed up at night, but it does perform pretty well with the on Wi-Fi. As far as the temps go, when you're just browsing YouTube, browsing the web, using YouTube, watching videos, you won't really hear the fan kick in too much. It is pretty quiet. The webcam, I haven't really used it, but it's your typical 720p deal. Nothing to write home about, just a regular laptop webcam. As far as the performance, the CPU performance and graphics go, even though it is a quad core, it's a pretty slow quad core at only 1 gigahertz, and it does have turbo boost where it can boost up a few hundred megahertz at the most. I don't have the exact specs with me, but it does boost. I do know it has turbo boost to boost the speed a little. But it's not a gaming machine, and the graphics card in it, I believe it scores around 2,500 on 3D Mark 06. Basic browser games, but I wouldn't expect to play more than, like an Age of Empires 3 or Stronghold Crusader type game. So older games, really older games, 5, 8 years old, those type of games should run fine, but newer games, aside from the newer browser games, won't run at all or very well on this machine. As far as battery life goes, we can check that out right now using the cool Windows 8 gestures. We're at 2 hours with 78% remaining. Now, on other reviews I've seen, they've run full tests on it, and they get about 3 hours browsing the web, 2 hours under load. So this isn't a machine you want to take on a long trip without any access to power ports, but it is only $400 on Amazon, and it has a very nice display. So you can see where the only place they really cut corners on this machine was the battery, where it doesn't last very long. But otherwise, it's a very nice machine for $400. It would definitely be up there in the top 3 if I was to choose a $400 machine today. Now, the different configurations you can get this in, I'm not sure which configurations do come with an IPS display. I know this configuration I have does. I'm not sure about the other configurations, so you want to do some research on that. Look it up on Acer's website, but I do know Amazon does sell it with a configuration with 6 gigabytes of RAM, and they also sell it with a slower processor and 6 gigabytes of RAM, and a slower processor with 4 gigabytes of RAM. I chose the machine with 4 gigabytes of RAM and the best processor because RAM can always be upgraded, but the processor is more than likely soldered in and not upgradable. Alright, so just in conclusion here, let the machine, my final thoughts. I am used to a higher pixel density screen, so I'm not sure if I will keep this, but it is a nice machine if you're not used to a really high quality display. And if you're coming from a typical 15-inch TN display, it's going to look absolutely amazing. But if you've used higher end screens, again, it won't look so great. But it's perfectly usable. There isn't anything wrong with it, and it's way better than a lot of the machines that other people use. The 15.6 inch at least machines, because it is a smaller screen with a high pixel density. So everything does look nice on it. I like the keyboard. There isn't really anything wrong with it if you're looking for a $400 machine. If you can deal with the $400 or the 2 to 3 hour battery life, then it's a great machine to get for schoolwork or anything like that. And I definitely choose this over your typical 15.6 inch laptop from Walmart. And again, you can find this machine at Walmart, but you just have to check the specs and make sure it has the IPS display. Because if I could pick this machine up at Walmart today for $400 or get it on Amazon and have to wait 3 days but get the IPS display is definitely worth the wait, and even or the extra price. And if it does cost a little extra, the IPS display is still worth it. The IPS display just makes the colors look better. It'll be easier on your eyes, all of that. So for $400, it's an excellent value from Amazon and from Acer, of course. I got mine on Amazon with the 2-day shipping, and I really like it. I'm not sure if I'll keep it again because of this, because of the screens I'm used to, But if you're not used to a high quality screen and you can deal with the 3 hours of battery life, definitely pick this machine up.